Welcome to a new Monday morning routine. It's Coffee with Strangers with Kelli Lemon.
Hey, it's Kelli, and today I'm in Scott's Edition at Buskey Cider to grab coffee with Buskey's founder, Will Correll. Buskey's been open a year and a half, and Will's out to change the assumptions about hard cider.
I have to cheers. It's Monday, and I need a sip. We're going to talk about this sip in a second, but who are you and what do you do in the city?
I'm Will Correll. I'm the original founder behind Buskey Cider, and this is Buskey Cider that we're sitting in our tasting room, and then we have our production in the back, as well as some more tasting spaces.
Cider. Why cider?
Historically, cider was the most popular beverage during colonial times. It is, considered by many to be America's beverage, but then a lot of the apple trees were cut down during Prohibition. So pretty much cider market died off until the mid-'80s, and we've started to see cider coming back into the market. I was very interested in craft beverages, whether wine, beer, and cider just was not something that I was seeing on a regular basis.
We're in Scott's Edition. Why did you decide to open up your business here?
I moved to Richmond hoping to open in this neighborhood. It's just one of the best neighborhoods you could imagine for opening a craft beverage company. We're in an intersection of interstates, so that's great for distribution. Warehouses were relatively cheap a few years ago, still highly walkable. Lots of apartments opening up. So there's walkability, and then we have obviously some wonderful neighbors. It's hard to find a legitimate production facility that can do distribution in a walkable area of a cool town.
Do you drink coffee?
Yes.
How do you like your coffee?
I drink my coffee black with nothing in it. When I was about 7, my grandfather, who's just an old Navy guy, told me, he's like, Corrells don't put things in their coffee.
I'm drinking, for the first time, mine black, but we poured a little cider in mine.
We did,
and I actually like it.
It's our Belgian candy cider.
Okay.
So it has a caramelized sugar that they use in Belgian beers.
Okay.
So it's gonna have kind of some caramely toffee notes.
I know I'm drinking coffee, but I got cider first, and so this isn't bad. Where's home? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Franklin, Virginia, which is Tidewater. My wife grew up there also. We were childhood friends. And then we both got moved away when the paper company that our dads worked at got bought. She ended up in Cincinnati. I ended up in Memphis, Tennessee. But I always wanted to come back to Virginia. So when I got to choose my college, I chose Hampton-Sydney. From there, I briefly lived in Williamsburg before I transitioned back to Richmond. So I guess I've been in Richmond for 5 years now.
Where did you and your wife decide to lay your head? Like, what part of town do you live?
I was living in Scott's Edition in the Cookie Factory lofts, and she was living in the Museum District. When we got married, we bought a condo down at 6th and Main.
Okay.
So right near Capitol Ale, and Greenleaf, John Marshall, all that.
When you guys get a date night out, where do you go? What do you do?
We pull up a list of our accounts and think about who we haven't visited lately. We end up at Fat Dragon Boulevard Burger next door quite a bit. That's like a quick little date. That's an awesome restaurant right next door. Downtown, 23rd and Main, Cap Ale, and a wide range. I mean, Banditos, we were there the other day. And then we were at the Jefferson drinking our cider and the rooftop at Quirk. And there's a ton of wonderful accounts and just some of the best people in Richmond.
We are this craft beer, cider industry now. Do you want to see Richmond grow big, or do you like the feel that it is now and we need to maybe pause it?
It's a city that I really love for having a lot of vitality and having its own spirit, and that's something that I loved in Memphis. Was it was a city with a heartbeat. For all of its troubles, which Richmond certainly has its troubles as well, and things we need to work on, it also is a city that is very much alive and is not propped up by the government. It's had really good decades and really bad, and I think we're certainly in a good decade heading into a better decade, and that's very exciting.
What are some things that you feel in Richmond that need to get exposed a little more?
Even though we don't have kids, and a lot of our friends don't have kids, it's still very important to be investing in the schools, investing in the people that service our city, cleaning up the James, being responsible about what we put in our river. And I think that we are a pretty responsible young professional generation, but it does need to be long-term focused. If we're going to say we love our city, we need to actually love the city where we live.
What are you looking forward to this fall?
The fall is obviously a wonderful time to be a cidery with the harvest. For back to school, we're going to do a Teachers Appreciation Day on the 25th. So we are going to have Bottoms Up Pizza here, and we're going to both be donating a chunk of our proceeds to Building a Better RPS, which is a nonprofit one of my friends helps run. The fall is a wonderful time. The weather will be nicer, the apples will be fresh, we'll be having some harvest parties. Cider Week happens in early November, which is a wonderful time to be a cidery as well.
When you're away and you are in your hat and it has RVA on the side like that, when you happen to be in the elevator and someone goes, "What's Richmond?" Give me your quick elevator speech.
Richmond is one of the coolest towns in the world. It's just a convergence of old and new. It's a city that has both a proud and a sad past, neither of which should be forgotten. It's a surprisingly diverse town, fairly progressive, certainly great for food and beverage. Architecturally, one of my favorite towns I've ever been in. The river, the river is so important and is really an underutilized resource. And I think 10 years from now, we're going to see the river, just everything cycling back to it. Richmond is a very good-sized town for me. I like a town where I'm going to see a lot of people I know, but there's always something new. It's a fun time to be here.
To hear the rest of my interview with Will, check out the Coffee with Strangers podcast in your preferred podcast app. Subscribe to this channel on YouTube and check out gridsupplyco.com. Oh, and get to coffeewithstrangersrva.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Okay, see you soon.